Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make sauerkraut. I think this is one of the easiest and quickest fermented foods to make, and it's one of my favorite fermented foods to have. I always have some in the fridge, and it's so much cheaper doing it this way, and it tastes so much better, and the health benefits are so much better because it isn't pasteurized like a lot of the sauerkraut you get in the supermarkets. So let's go straight into it. So basically all you need is a cabbage, preferably a good quality cabbage, and then you're going to need some salt. So all we're going to do is we're going to take off the outer layer. Now I haven't made this that many times, but it really is fairly simple. So we're going to take off the outer layer, outer leaf, and we're going to put this to the side because we are actually going to use this at the end. That is going to actually be quite useful. Then what we're going to do is cut it in half, and then we're going to cut it into quarters. And then from there, we're going to take out the inner core. Now, we're still going to use this inner core, but we're just not going to cut it up in the same way as the rest of the cabbage, just because it's quite dense. However, a lot of the nutrients are in this core, so we do still want it. So we're going to set the core to the side, and then we're going to cut the cabbage. Now, the nice thing about this is you can cut it how you like it. I quite like it nice and thin, but you can have it thicker. So I'm going to try and cut this really as thinly as I can cut it. Also, the advantage of cutting it thinly is that you're going to get more. It's going to be easier to get more of the juices out, which is what we're going to need for the second stage. Now, it is important to weigh the cabbage after we cut it, because we're going to need to add the right amount of salt, and it's around 2% salt that you're going to want to add. So what I'm going to do is grab some weighing scales, and I'm going to place it just underneath this bowl, and I'm just going to see how much it weighs, and then I can work out how much salt we're going to need. So I'm going to place this now into here, just break it up. What I really love about sauerkraut is that the flavor isn't too strong. Now, of course, the longer that you ferment it for, the more bitter and the more sour it's going to be. But the nice thing about it not being like kimchi, where it's got nice flavors in it, and that is quite nice. But the advantage of sauerkraut is that you can put it with so many different dishes. And so I pretty much always put it with my dinner and with my lunch. So it's just one of those condiments you can have on the side. It adds some flavor, and it's quite a unique taste because it's quite bitter, which is often not what the rest of your meal is. And it can also increase your health, or increase the health of that dish, and just help your microbes, because it's fermented. It's phenomenal for your gut bacteria, for increasing and improving your gut. For quite a while I was getting sauerkraut from Sainsbury's, and I was getting it from the shelf and not the fridge, and I don't think they really sell it in the fridge. And it took me a while actually to realize that it was just pasteurized, which is ridiculous, because you're just going to negate all the benefits that you're looking for, well, particularly for the good bacteria, which is really what led me to work out how to make it yourself. Well, when I saw how easy and quick it is, I thought it really is a no-brainer. But it's also so much cheaper, because each jar that I bought was £2.40, I think, and you didn't get anywhere near as much as what I'm doing here. And this cabbage costs what, like £1? So yeah, so much better on so many fronts. And one of these jars here will last me weeks and weeks. So and this is a special jar, by the way. This has actually got a one-way valve on it, and so it basically lets air out but not in. And one of the things when you're fermenting food is that it's producing gases which you want to let out. Now, you don't have to have one of these jars. These jars are specifically made for fermenting food. But if you don't have one, you just have to release the jar probably every day, I think. I've not done it without, so I don't know exactly, but I think it's probably about once a day, just to make sure that it doesn't explode or anything like that. But having this jar just make it a lot easier. Okay, so with the core, what I'm going to do is just chop it up really finely so you don't bite into anything that's really hard or yeah, just ruins the texture. But then you're still getting as much of the nutrients as you can get. Okay, good. So we've got about 900 grams of cabbage there. So we're going to work out 2%. So 1% is going to be about 9 grams. So we're going to want 2%. So we're going to want about 18 grams of salt. So I'm going to put this to the side. So we're going to use the weighing scales here, put it back to 0. So we're going to just put that over here. So the salt is really important to draw out the water. Without the salt, it wouldn't really do this in the same way. You can put a little bit more if you like. Sometimes you have to make it a couple of times to find out how you want it. And the first time I made it, it was actually quite good. I was actually quite happy with it. One of the things that I worked out though the first time I made it is I didn't have anything decent to push down the cabbage so that it was fully submerged in the water, and you'll see that in just a second, which is why I actually went out to purchase this, which is a glass weight specifically for fermenting food. You don't have to buy this. If you have something that can replicate this, then great, but this just works quite well. It's got a bit of weight to it. It's not plastic. You don't really want to sit it in plastic, in my opinion. So the glass is really good, and so yeah, you'll see me use that in just a sec. So the most time-consuming part, there's 2 time-consuming parts about this. First was cutting the cabbage, and this is the second bit. So you want to make sure you washed your hands, which I've done already. And what you're now going to want to do is squeeze the cabbage. So we really need to get the salt really mixed in there. And then we're just going to squeeze all the juices out. So this can take anywhere from a few minutes, maybe even up to 10 minutes. Some different people do it for different amounts of time, but you at least want to do it for a good few minutes, probably about 5 minutes, I would say. But you just keep doing it really until you got as much of that juice out as possible. It's a really good workout for your hands, if nothing else. So now starting to just feel some and see some of that liquid come out, and really have to get that liquid out, because when we put it in the jar, we want to make sure that it's fully submerged in its own water. Now you can top it up with water. Some people have even done it with lemon juice if you're lacking in water. Okay, so that should be enough. So I'm now going to proceed to put it into the jar. Okay, so it's really important that we get all the juices in there. So you really want to make sure you don't waste any of them. And then you also want to make sure that you press it down as far as you can. So we reduce as much of the air in there, the air bubbles in there, but also to really make sure that the juice, the water comes up to the top. So I'm going to use a rolling pin here. So you just need something to really be able to pack it in there until you start seeing the water come to the top. Now, if you don't see the water coming to the top, you just have to top it up a little bit. That's pretty packed in there, so I'm not quite seeing the water come to the top, so I'm going to just top it up a little bit with some extra water. Okay, so this is where the outer leaf comes in, because what we want to do is cover the top of it with the leaf, and then we're going to use the weight to then weigh it down, so we can make sure that we're pressing and submerging the cabbage underneath the water. And then we put the weight on top and just press it down. And then we simply put the lid on the top, and then we're going to let it ferment. You can let this ferment. You want to wait at least a week, and after a week it tastes like sauerkraut and it's really good to go. But you can let it go even longer. Typically people do it anywhere between 1 and 3 weeks. Some people even do it further than that. So basically the more that you ferment it, the more of a sour taste that you're going to get. So I would suggest, if you've not done it before, keep tasting it throughout the fermentation process so you can find that sweet spot where you like it the most. For me, I tend to quite like it around 2 weeks, but I still taste it along the way. And you also want to make sure you're checking it along the way, making sure that it's doing all right, that it's not doing anything you wouldn't expect it to do. So I'm just going to put that in my kitchen cupboard, and I'm going to check on it in about a week. I'll probably start eating it in about 2 weeks. So hopefully that's useful. There are many videos out there on how to make sauerkraut. So if you are going to make it, watch a few of them and just see how you want to do it. It is fairly simple. It is pretty much as straightforward as that. Probably takes you less than 10-15 minutes at most. Most of the work is on the chopping and with the squeezing of the cabbage. If you want to find out some of the benefits of sauerkraut, why you should even eat this in the first place, I'll highly suggest that you check out this video here. I think you're going to find that very interesting, and it may inspire you to come back to this video and start making sauerkraut. See you next time.